Welcome to my stock photo of a den. During my history of cooperative games, I mentioned that Vlaada Chvátil was my favorite board game designer, and I'm a near completionist of his work. I own and have played multiple times some version of each of his games that was released in English. So, Kamen Zbrane Papier, Saculus, and Pernikova Cherupka, I've not tried to acquire those. I wanted to put out my thoughts on the whole catalog, so here we go, tier list time. Let's go chronologically, starting with Arena, starting really strong here. Vlaada loves player interaction as much as I do, and it shows strong with his first published work, his debut here. The core mechanism involves one person setting an attack die with some number in a predefined range, like 1 to 4, and that corresponds to the damage. The defender has some number of guesses on what the attacker set, and if they guess right, then they block the attack. There's more to it, but that core is super engaging, and it involves that sort of I think that you think that I think, that psychology that I really love. So that's A tier here. It's not S tier just due to the difficulty of ramping up a new player, handing them a stack of 30 different effects that all have hyper situational effects. It can be really daunting. If there was a streamlined version, that could definitely be S tier. Moving on to Prophecy. It's a pretty long fantasy adventure game. You go around a map, powering up, beating up baddies, gathering items. Eventually you have to go challenge the tough gauntlet of guardians. They're guarding the powerful artifacts. If you're playing competitively, you can beat each other up, but that's something that I've rarely done outside of the final showdown where you have to. Nowadays, we mostly play this game cooperatively. It runs kind of long. There's not quite enough variety in it to justify how long it is. It takes hours. It's also really light for that time commitment. I enjoy Prophecy enough to own both of its expansions, and I've played it dozens and dozens of times. I've just cooled on it over the years. So just a C tier for me. Now we've got Merry Men of Sherwood. It was also published as just Sherwood. Another pretty psychological game of Vlaada's. You have a set of character cards. They each have different values and 4 different traits. And you send any number of them out. Whoever has sent the highest combined value in each trait gets some kind of bonus. But whoever has the highest of the 4th trait, the noticeability, they get punished. And their used characters are sent to prison, and you have to do some stuff to get them out. It's certainly not a bad game. It's just kind of average, which for Vlaada means it's D tier because he's just that good. So D tier. Grainaland. This is an interesting spin on the Catan-like game. It's from a decade after Settlers of Catan first came out. You've got some settlements and leaders dispersed around the spaces in Greenland, and the land produces resources that can be used to build more settlements and build up your army, etc. In order for these resources to make it into players' hands, a majority of people on that space have to agree with someone's allocation of it. Sometimes it means you're offering concessions to other players there to let them approve your deal. Sometimes it just means you're going to put an overwhelming force there and take the majority for yourself. It's got that unique negotiation that's not trading, it's not backstabbing, it's its own kind of thing. It's neat, but it rarely hits the table for us. It's long, it has a finicky end game, just C tier. Now we have Through the Ages. This is something spectacular. The last several haven't been anything too special, but this starts a legendary run of top-tier games. Not just the best civilization game in my eyes, but the best game, period. Develop your own civilization, balancing the needs of resources, population, happiness, military strength, scientific research, the development of culture. There's a beautiful interconnection between everything that you manage. The abstract blue cubes are alternately rock or food or progress on building wonders. The abstract yellow cubes are alternately people or buildings or just general population. Overextending in one dimension means that you're suffering in others. Ignoring the military means you'll get attacked. Ignoring science means that you're stuck in a rut and can't do new and better things. You're making pacts, you're getting new leaders, you're competing for technology cards, aggressions, the risky wars that can be really lucrative. It all flows so wonderfully. It's so tense. It's so thematically evocative, despite it being so abstract. I mean, there's not even a map in the Civilization game. This is the most S tier of S tiers for me. And now, from the deeply strategic to the wackily tactical now with Galaxy Trucker. Everyone is racing to build their own spaceship out of a bunch of spare parts that may or may not be cohesive in any meaningful way. Do it fast, but do it well. Because after building your ships, it's not just a straightforward scoring and set collection or anything like that. There is a second phase. It's the gauntlet of threats and goodies, where you're trying to grab the valuable cargo, be the fastest without getting blown up by meteors or pirates. And it's a hoot watching huge chunks of your spaceship get blown off. It's satisfying seeing your building choices pay off. Either you've got the double redundant part connection, or smart shielding, or wise cabin placements. S tier. S tier, no question. And next up, Space Alert. Another back-to-back entry with a poorly thought out spaceship that's barely limping to its destination. The plays of Space Alert and Galaxy Trucker are very different from each other. Space Alert was a relatively early cooperative game. Check out my history video, where the players are running around the spaceship, pressing buttons, hoping that they've communicated well enough that their plans intertwine nicely. Although in practice, there's often some miscoordinated messes of multiple people trying to do the same thing, or someone going the wrong way and firing lasers into the void. It's got the timed 10-minute action phase and then an untimed resolution phase where everyone reveals what they've played and they see what they've actually managed to accomplish. This is a ton of fun, plenty of variety, filled with tension. S tier again. Now Dungeon Lords. Vlaada's Imperial phase diminishes a bit here with his third two-phase game in a row. We're going in a very Euro game direction with Dungeon Lords, even though the theme is not dry like many Euros of the 2000s were. You're evil overlords building dungeons to trap the goody two-shoes heroes. Each round, the first phase is like a fairly standard worker placement with some complications built in, with multiple players using the same station getting different rewards. There's resources that you have to pay for or that expire over time. In the second phase, the heroes get assigned to your various dungeons, and you use your monsters and traps to try to defeat the NPCs that are trying to ransack what you've built. The game is fun. It really works, but teaching it is a slog. It's finicky. It's got lots of exceptions. Doesn't play well with two. It's so interconnected that it's tough to teach as you go. It's just B tier. Bunny, Bunny, Moose, Moose. This has been a real love it or hate it game with people I've tried it with. It's not much like anything else I've ever played. You're making bunny ears or moose antlers. And you're trying to match some certain scoring cards that get randomly dealt out and constantly replaced. And sometimes there's like, oh, you want bunny ears, but you want to be a moose, so you thick your tongue out there. It's both silly, but also very thinky, because there's this constant calculation that you're doing very quickly. It is interesting to pull out once in a while, but it's never been a staple for us. So low C tier for us. It has enough interesting uniqueness going on to keep it from D. Sneaks and Snitches. It's another light game. This one's very psychological, has a little bit of push your luck even. A number of locations around the city have some juicy, stealable gems and other loot, and you're trying to be the master thief with the most of each type. Every round you send out one sneak, someone who can steal the stuff at a certain location, and one snitch, someone who calls the cops to monitor a certain location. If you have a place that just has your sneak and no one else there, you get the big reward. If a snitch is anywhere, no one gets anything. So you're really trying to figure out what everyone's going to do. How safe do you want to play it? Do you think everyone's going to go for the big, really shiny, attractive piece of loot? Or is that so obvious? Just trying to think that way it's really fun. It's very easy to get into. It plays quickly, full of interesting decisions. This is a B tier. Now Travel Blog. Sometimes it feels like Vlaada's trying to hit every game genre, and he realized he didn't have anything that was trivia adjacent, so he made Travel Blog. You're trying to travel either from one US state to another or one European country to another, crossing as few borders as possible, but without picking a state or country that's directly adjacent. So Texas to Kansas, great. Texas to Oklahoma, not great. Texas to Maine, catastrophic. The challenges escalate every round, but in a way that it stays pretty accessible. Vlada really likes his ramping up learning type games. In some later ones, you'll see the multiple rule books. This one is just like a series of rounds that adds a little bit more each time. I enjoyed this enough to make my own variant of it with African countries. That's been very tough whenever I or my friends have played it. It's a fine game, but it's a minor part of the Vlada catalog, or Vladalog, as I'll never call it again. C tier. All right, so Mage Knight. All these light, quick games, those have been background projects while working on the biggie here. Vlada's made a big adventure game before, but now it's bigger and better and way more complex. Mage Knight has actual exploration, unlike Prophecy. It has deep tactical combat and travel, not just dice rolling. It has individual deck building, which was relatively novel at the point it came out, just a couple years post Dominion. Asymmetric characters, enormous showdowns, competitive and cooperative modes, each with a variety of scenarios. It's a big deal. My main issue is that it's often too big a deal for me to get to the table. I'll never play it 4-player again. And even 3 is quite a time commitment. And I'm not a solo player either, so this is mostly a 2-player game for me. It's a satisfying strategic endeavor, but I'm keeping it just at A tier for the sheer difficulty of me fitting it into my life, and for the sometimes fiddly rules distinguishing some otherwise quite similar encounters. I'm putting the Star Trek version as this one too, because it's similar enough rules-wise. Dungeon Pets. Vlada's dipping back into the well of the complex 2-phase Eurogame with this almost incongruously cute title. Sharing a setting with Dungeon Lords and some very basic game mechanics, some non-standard worker placement and expiring resources, Dungeon Pets has you care for various cutely gross and or grossly cute beings, feeding them, playing with them, building enclosures for them, and you sell them and you show them off at pet shows. It works. It's pretty complex for its theme. My kids will try anything, but this was really on the edge of what they could reasonably play well. I just don't think its complexity has quite enough payoff. It's a tier below Dungeon Lords, so it's C tier. Pictomania. What if Pictionary, but played simultaneously by everyone at the table? Deal out the set of words that people may have to draw, each card having several thematically related words, like 6 types of buildings or 6 types of jungle beasts. Everyone is simultaneously working on their own artwork and guessing at other people's drawings. You score better if other people guess your artwork and if you guess others quickly. It's wild fun. It works great. I love ramping up to the ridiculous level 4 highest difficulty words, forcing people to draw abstract concepts like when and surface and morality. It accomplishes just what it wants to. A tier. Tashkalar, a nice midweight game from Vlada. It's been a while for those. This one involves summoning units on a board using patterns of other units, trying to meet various goals that come out, requiring you to possess certain configurations of units or in certain places on the board, certain strengths, other similar goals. There are 2 identical armies, or you can play the asymmetric units. There are some valuable and powerful units with really tough setup requirements. All throughout, the focus is on the shapes, balancing, building yourself up and trying to block your opponents, and their immediate capabilities aren't fully knowable. It's cool stuff, allows for some big satisfying moments. A tier again. Codenames. So Vlada was a hobbyist heavyweight by this point, but Codenames was the big worldwide phenomenon. It's, as you've seen, not his only party game, but it's orders of magnitude bigger than any of those others. In a grid of words, each team has certain words they want their teammates to guess, and the clue giver gives a clue that ideally applies to multiple words at once, avoiding the other team's words or the game ending assassin. This is in the world of password, taboo, etc., but in a more thinky way, allowing some more clever play. In my opinion, it has a lot of room to be too thinky, though, with trying to build the perfect clue. It has the potential for big, satisfying moves, but it also has the potential to have people sit around for 5 minutes doing nothing, unless they play with the timer. This is an evergreen, world popular title with dozens of themed variations, which I'm all counting under here. Even the cool pictures version. I usually prefer other clue-giving games over Codenames at this point. So in this genre, I'm just putting it at B. And Codenames Duet I've kept separate because its rules are different enough. It's a cooperative two-player or two-team game rather than like a regular team-based one. I feel it loses some of its charm that way. The risk of giving away something to your opponent is replaced by the faceless timer. It just didn't grab me. This is the only game on this list I've played only once, and I'm really not feeling like playing it again. So, D tier for Codenames Duet. So, he's done clue-giving party games, drawing party games, trivia party games, but not an interpersonal, know-each-other party game before That's a Question. It's neat. Assemble a question that generally takes the form of which of these two things is better or worse, targeted at one player. Everyone else guesses how they'll answer it and score points if they guess right. Makes for some fun discussion and hypotheticals. Would you rather live in a world without pants or one without toilet paper? The game's fun, a little disposable. That's a C tier for me. And finally, after about a decade between That's a Question, that was filled with expansions from Mage Knight, variations on Codenames, new editions of Galaxy Trucker and Pictomania and Through the Ages, and digital implementations, we finally, in 2025, got a brand new title. A cooperative experience themed around a Czech comic series started in the 1930s. The players take on the roles of the members of a group called the Rapid Arrows, trying to make their way through the rough side of town, overrun with a gang of bullies. The game's big on hand management, with multi-use cards providing movement, information, or the ability to beat skill checks on strength, persuasion, or stealth. The different scenarios have different sets of quests to achieve throughout the playtime. And the play experience is fine. It's fine. It works. It requires some cooperation between the players. It has the feeling of danger, but I don't know. It just didn't feel like anything special. There are so many wonderfully special, unique experiences from Vlaada. I wanted something more and just was disappointed. So either low C or high D tier for me on Severton. It just wasn't remarkable. So there you have it. Nothing going in F tier. Even his worst games are still well worth playing. Vlaada's got such range, from a breadth of party games to some of the deepest strategic experiences I've ever tried. His games have humor, personality, psychology, exciting moments, and some of the weird mechanical elements that are both genius and obvious at the same time. Even if Severton was a small disappointment, Vlaada is always going to be the top designer in my heart. So, there you have it. Thank you so much for visiting my stock photo of a den. I'll see you again soon.